Hi, this is Lauren from LSP Actions and welcome to video tutorial number 6 for the LSP North Pole Cottage digital background for Photoshop. If you've watched the other tutorials, you'll notice that I've been compositing in subjects shot on a plain white background. That's ideal for this digital because it will make your masking and editing so much easier. But what if you've shot your subject on a more complicated background? Well, I'm going to show you how you can add those in. And some masking techniques that I like to use in Photoshop to make sure you've got a really good cutout that still looks realistic. The most important thing is to try and shoot your subject with at least a white floor underneath them because that will allow you to add the shadows in realistically. If you don't have a white floor, you're going to have to paint some shadows in or use the technique shown in video number 5 to try and whiten the floor a little yourself. So you need to click on the place subject in front or inside the house. I'm going to place the subject in front. I'm also going to click on the close the gate option here. Come up to File, Place Embedded, and I'm going to be using this image here by Anna Brandt. Make sure that the light in your image is coming from the left. If it's not, you're going to need to right click, flip horizontal, or you can flip this whole background. If, for example, you've got some writing on your subject here, or so you can't mirror image it, you can come up to Image, Image Rotation, and flip Canvas Horizontal. It will flip the whole house horizontally. Next up, you need to add a layer mask. Again, if I'm going too fast, please do watch video number 2, where I move really slowly and cover everything you need to know. I'm going to grab the Quick Select wand, and because I'm in Creative Cloud, I can choose the Select Subject option. If you're not in Creative Cloud, you're going to need to drag this over the areas you wish to select. If it selects somewhere you don't want it to, for example here, you can hold down Alt and deselect that, like this. So I'm going to transcribe this over to the layer mask now. I'll delete the layer mask and just add a new one. It will already add that selection in. So that's not too bad. Because she was shot on white already, I can simply just add some of the white floor back in. If you're trying to composite a subject that was not shot on white, it's going to be a lot harder for you to add the shadows manually by hand. But if you're using the LSP Actions, you can do this, the digital background actions. Or you can click below the subject, come down here, add levels or curves, and use this to darken the background. I want to pull the whites down too. Control or Command I to invert this. And what you're going to need to do is hold down Shift on your subject layer mask to see where these shadows are. So you can see there's one there just under her foot. So click on the curves. And you're going to have to paint these in by hand. That's why it's so much more important to shoot on white. But if not, don't worry, you can try and paint them in by hand by just seeing how they are, uncovering the layer mask and covering it back up again. So I can see there are some here. Shift click this just to check. Take the opacity down a little. Keep uncovering, keep showing and hiding, and painting onto your curves layer to really try and mimic these natural shadows. But if you've shot on white, you're going to save yourself all this hassle of trying to paint realistic shadows in. And so on. But I'm going to go and hide that because this subject is white underneath, so I can just grab a brush and lightly paint this back in. What I'm going to do is just move her down a little, because Snowman's leg is kind of coming up here behind her, so let's just move her down a touch. At this point you can resize if you wanted to. So either add the shadows in using the curves method I just showed you, or if you shot on white, so much more preferable, you can just paint the bottom of the image in. I'm just using the shift technique to show and hide the original here so I can see what still needs to be painted in and what needs to be hidden. So I'm going to use a black brush. I'm going to put this up about halfway flow. The black brush, I'm just now going to start making sure it's nice and hard. Put even more up there. I'm now going to start going around and refining this selection. Again, you can shift click to see what is hiding, what needs to be hidden and shown. White brush to show and a black brush to hide. Because I'm in Creative Cloud, I'm really not too worried about the hair selection because I'm going to use the Refine Edge wand in a moment for that. If you edit with one hand on the keyboard and one hand on your mouse or tablet, it's a lot easier because you can use the X keyboard shortcut. This X means switch between a black or a white brush, which makes things so much easier than having to do it by clicking. It will really shorten your editing time down, so edit with one finger on X. It's really important to make sure you don't have a halo around your subject, so make sure you're cutting in nice and close with a hard brush. Even if you're having to go over a little bit, it's better to do that than having a halo. So even if you're colouring inside the lines a little, so to speak, much better to do that. And when you're happy with your cutout, you can now come and refine the hair selection. You see here there's a lot of, there's a snowy background, there's trees, there's an awful lot behind the hair. So this is going to take some work. If you're using Photoshop Creative Cloud, you may find it a little easier. If you're not, and you don't have this select and mask option, you may have to zoom right in and edit this by hand by using a black and a white brush, for example, like this. I'm just painting some in. And then you're going to have to use a white brush to show and a black brush to hide, and you're going to have to kind of paint around those little hair wisps. So I really recommend Creative Cloud because it comes with some options for professionals for refining their hair. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hold down Control and select the layer mask, and this has made a selection of the hair here, including these odd bits of snow and everything that's included. And come up here to select and choose select and mask. I'm not too pleased with that, so I'm going to use the Refine brush, which is this one here in the middle, up here on the left, the Refine Edge brush. To take some of that background away by holding Alt, and to sweep this over the hair. Sometimes when you have a complex background, you really need to cut your losses when it comes to saving every wispy hair, but do your best to try and make it look as realistic as possible with no fuzzy halos. So use a nice hard brush. As you can see here, this is looking very odd. Use a nice hard brush right around that edge. And then come up to select and inverse the selection. So it's here, select inverse. Even though it doesn't look any different, now it means everything apart from the subject is selected. Use a low flow brush, and you can click this a few times and slightly build it up. Again, select inverse. Now for this area of the hair, I've inversed, so it means I've selected the subject again. So it really is a clicking game. You're paying a lot of attention to your selection, a lot of attention to what you're doing, and keep going until you have a hair selection that is realistic. So a good selection when your subject is on a difficult to mask background can take some time, but it is definitely worth taking the time to do it properly. At this point you can, when you are happy with your selection, you can carry on and carry on with any of the techniques you learned in video 2 or your own masking techniques to make this, this image really pop and stand out. So good luck with that. I'm Lauren from LSP Actions, and you can get this digital background from www.lsp-actions.com. Thanks for watching. Bye.